something here that is a huge deal is convenience. If you can put it in a place that is convenient to just go in and out real quick, of course, you're going to have your people who want to hang out, but probably not want to go all the way into a building and all the way out of a building because of the tourism here, of the pace of life here. People just want to in and out real fast. So the things that we look for specifically here in Belize are a lot different.
Welcome to the Coffee Experts Club, where we discuss all of the insights, expertise, and drama that goes into making your passion your profession. Our hosts, Aaron, Ben, and Drew, are three coffee experts who have taken their coffee experience and turned it into true expertise. They have consulted with major coffee brands throughout the United States and beyond, providing operations expertise and growth strategy for drive-through openings, multiple locations, and everything in between. So brew yourself a cup and hang out a bit with the Coffee Experts Club.
Hey, Ben Claddenbach, Coffee Experts Club.
Here we are.
Here we are. How are things, dude?
Happy Valentine's Day. Did you give me anything for Valentine's Day?
Well, I'm not going to tell you about it yet because the day's not over. You know what I'm saying? So, hey, if you're heartbroken by tomorrow, we can work that through. We can do some counseling, therapy, couple counseling.
Couples counseling.
And you having a good day so far?
Yeah, not too shabby at all. Got some low key plans for tonight with the wife. Been a good day with everybody. So yeah, not too bad.
Cool. I was going to take Megan someplace overnight tonight, but she's like, could we just lay low? We were in Montana all weekend, and it was a lot of travel back and forth. So I took her out on a little day date. We went and had lunch. So that was cool, but kind of cheesy. I'm like, honey, you're making one of those guys. It's like, oh.
One of those guys. I know that's the same way. We're going out of town this weekend. So it's like, we're like, let's just keep it low key.
Yeah.
At the same time, like Valentine's Day, it's all corporate
America. And still, I was the guy hustling at the grocery store earlier this morning, making sure I had the flowers and the candy and the card. You know what I'm saying? So I can't believe how we all get ripped off, but shoot, I better fight the snow. It was snowing here this morning. So we had like snow on the ground, snow on the cars. I was out there full on scraping my windshield, trying to get to the grocery store quick.
The things we do for Valentine's Day. And what do we get? A pair of socks.
No, the things you do for love. That's what it is. Oh man, Coffee Experts Club. You're like, what kind of bullshit am I going? Man, so last week got checked the journey. The new manager down at Coffee de los Mayas, Drew, is down in Belize right now, helping them. He's actually today scoping out new possible locations with them. So pretty exciting.
I heard.
Yeah, pretty exciting stuff. Seeing that little company grow down there, and in some place so different than what we're used to it. Obviously we've talked about this a million times, but Pacific Northwest is where we, like that's where we dwell. That's what we do. But it's cool to see things we've learned here and rolled out here, dozens of times, actually working someplace else for sure.
Mm-hmm. That's a pretty quick timeline too on the new location. Do they have anything set in stone yet of when they're looking to open and what they're trying to do?
I think they're just trying to be ambitious. I think they're talking Q3, but obviously, and things roll a lot faster down there. So I think it just depends on what they're able to do. You know what I mean? They don't have to deal with a lot of the stuff we deal here with codes. I have a construction meeting tomorrow for Human Being Reno, and just, man, we've been trying to nurture that one across the finish line since last year, same time, and it's like, thank God they're out there doing the earthwork right now. And, we're hoping to be able to drop the building and have everything dialed in by the time, that spring to summer change in weather happens. And because that's where you make your money, right? Like that April, May, June on ramp is just like,
yep.
Weather's changing. People start coming in for their blendeds. Like you can just start just rolling stuff out the door, but
especially down in Reno, when it gets hot down there, right?
It does. They've had a cold winter though, crazy winter. So I think all in all, it's been a little bit tricky down in Reno, but I'm grateful to get their project up. But all that to say, it's a different deal in Belize. It's just not as, the pressure isn't the same. The bureaucracies aren't the same.
Not as much red tape.
That's right. So this one, I think, is going to be a little bit trickier for them, because they're really trying to lean into what we know works here, which is drive-through. Obviously, that's the Collab team's whole jam with Coffee Experts Club is your first drive-through.coffee. Anything that we've got around coffee is about drive-throughs, and so the location they've got down there right now is a walk-up, not even a sit-down cafe. It's literally, it's positioned like a walk-up where they're still turning drinks, in 1.5 to 2 minutes and putting people out the window and keep them moving. They've got some seating out on the boardwalk, but by intention, they could have made it a cafe. It's deep enough to make it a cafe, but Like what we know works is fast. What we know
Yeah.
works is speed, service, strength, And so I think that that's what we've really leaned into with them down there. And it's really worked so far. So this next one's gonna be tricky though, because it's not like you're looking for another drive through that you can roll up on. Like it's no, they're gonna have to look for land, which could obviously slow everything down depending on if there's a developer on site who's willing to do stuff.
Are you running into some of the same issues like the credit card processing? Like, I mean, I know here in the States with it, if you're under the umbrella of the same company, like you can move stuff along really quick, or we're under the same LLC. Is it the same down there where, you can be like, okay, we've got an established company here in the area. You can start our credit processing up, or is it the same hoops for every new location you have to jump through?
I would have to think that an established company isn't going to see the same problems as a brand new. That they were brand new when we went to a grand opening, not even thinking about it because Square will literally open you up. Like when do you open tomorrow? No problem. It just here's the
Yeah.
swipers. Well, you know what I mean. But I think that everything down there, because the credit card processors aren't plugged into the banks, and because the banks still have such a hard grasp on the country as far as they control all the processing and they don't bring in third party. The biggest entities out there, PayPal, Stripe, like nobody's got an access into Belize. So I think that all those things make it tricky, but I would think because they have a bank account down there, because they have now jumped through the
Mhm.
hoops that hopefully, as an established business, we can be like, here, we're on our second one. Please give us our credit card processors and don't be ridiculous.
Well, and I mean, the country's not very big, right? Like the whole country is the size of what, Oregon? So, I mean, it'd be like you, if you were to
Yeah.
open another location somewhere in Oregon.
Yeah. And it's not, I don't even think it's as big as, I think it's like population 400,000, for the whole country. So it's not a large country. And I think even the two locations they're looking at right now are both about 3.5 hours away. So yeah, probably you're right. Like equidistant in drive would be like me opening something up towards Portland from down here in Southern Oregon,
Mhm.
which is pretty much end to end. It was probably about a 4.5 hour drive. So that's good relatability, but obviously population density is nowhere near.
Yeah.
And you really got to think through the towns they're looking at. So I'm excited for them, and also know like, yeah, be ambitious with your dates, but be realistic too. So I think you set your dates and you chase them hard, although they're talking with some builders, on building out sites for them. And uh,
I'm really curious about just from having to deal with the construction that we dealt with up here and contractors and all that. I'm really curious if contractors suck in every country or if it's just the US. Like please, like, yeah, we'll throw it up in a couple days. You're good to go. I'm really
well,
curious about that whole end of it.
the owner down there said, yeah, no, we can turn this no problem. Like, yeah, it had some really ambitious timelines on how fast they could do the build out. And I thought that would be a damn beautiful thing. You know what I mean? It's like if they could pull something like that off, but then you know how it goes, bro. It's like, and no offense to any of the contractors listening, but I just think that it can feel like you're babysitting. It can feel like, man, you are just hand holding to get things across the finish line. And I think it's just, you and I have talked about this. Unless it's a big shop, and they've got their efficiencies nailed down. Most contractors are pretty relational people, you know what I mean? And they're talkers and they want to make people feel good. And so I think they say yes, yes, yes to multiple people, and it makes timelines unrealistic. And then
Mhm.
if you hit any choking point, they don't have a lot of margin, a lot of room for error, and so then it just kicks everything, kicks it off wrong. So hopefully not, man. Hopefully we can land something good for them.
Be interesting to see if Belize has the gem of every contractor.
I think that building partnerships is so key when you're doing, especially wanting to open more locations. And unless, it's there's only so many like dead parking lots where it's like, oh, that's an older building. Oh, they're probably not that they've been grandfathered into a parking lot that's probably bigger than they really need. Could they chisel out for us maybe this corner? Then we can infrastructure it up, drop a stand on it. Like, those are great, and it's great at the beginning. We'll advocate for that for new people starting coffee. How could you do it? Kind of bootstrap it. How could you do it? Kind of
Mhm.
that guerrilla marketing where you're working with an established older owner that probably doesn't have the energy to want to do a bunch new, but they'll peddle your newness, your energy to bring like revenue off a piece of pavement, right? That's the brilliance of a Pacific Northwest way of doing it. But I do think that those are few and farther between, especially in our locale. You know what I mean? But I met with these developers and I just thought, what a stressful deal to develop out and not know what businesses are going to go in there as you're outlaying all of this money Drew, I think as he's looking at locations, as we're helping them scope out, different towns and making suggestions, that's kind of been my secret prayer. It's just like, hey, could we maybe just find somebody that they know, find somebody that we can rub elbows with, find somebody that would be like a, not like a partner, but somebody that we could be in league with, where they're building and developing there. And we would love to partner up with you as you build and develop there. Just count on us. Just count us in. Like, just keep us in your footprint. How many are you going to do this year? Keep us in that footprint. As many as you want to keep opening, just drop a pad for us. We'll just do a land lease with you or a build to suit. And like, let's keep doing these things. So those kind of partnerships are valuable.
I'm curious, Drew, like as you were out there looking at locations today, how is it different from like if you were looking at a location up here? Because like we were talking about, like up here, you'd look for a giant, 40-car parking lot where you can plop, a stand in the corner because it's just all pavement anyways. Is it similar down there? Or are you looking for a smaller lot? Are you looking at like, you know, busier? I've never been to Belize, so it's just, I have no.
Let's change that,
concept,
Ben
but-
Clatterbuck. Let's get you down there, do a little coffee expert elite with Ben Clatterbuck.
Well, I mean, so it really depends. Such a diverse place here in Placencia. It's like a southern beach town on the east. Obviously, it's all eastern side, I suppose, on the beaches in Belize.
Mhm.
So here, I'd be looking for something like a dirt lot. Like not a very big dirt lot. Something and probably not a drive-through either here, because of the demographic is mostly retired folks and tourists, and whereas in San Ignacio, it was more like, okay, we would like to potentially put a drive-through eventually. The first one was like a roll-up garage and a walking street. So the things that we look for here are a lot different. I don't know, drive-through model is not a big deal here in Belize. It's not really something that they have or have had for a long time. It's something that's new. There's a beautiful store that was built just outside San Ignacio. It's called Sarita. I'm pretty sure it's a franchise model from Guatemala. It's an ice cream shop. It's built out really nice, but I don't really see cars out all that often. So in the future, I think maybe we'd be looking for something like, maybe a big, I don't know, they don't really have super centers like Walmart here, or big hotels. They have resorts. So maybe something that's like a gas station that has, extra space on the side of it. Or maybe like there's a Bamboo Tea has a little stand inside of one of the gas stations, has like a little extra thing to the side, it's like a little vacant cafe area.
Yeah.
So looking for something like that. And then counting, of course, foot traffic, and something here that is a huge deal is convenience. So if you can put it in a place that is convenient to just go in and out real quick, of course, you're going to have your people who want to hang out, but probably not want to go all the way into a building and all the way out of a building because of the tourism here, of the pace of life here. People just want to in and out real fast. So the things that we look for specifically here in Belize are a lot different. And they do have, there's Belize City, which is probably more or less like a walk up maybe to on the side of a mall building or an outlet mall, but probably not a drive through there either. So a lot of what you're looking for here in a country like this is just a quick walk up, something easy, maybe a little cafe with a few seats, but nothing too in depth, nothing too aggressive looking. People here, what I've noticed is they want to browse easily. They don't want to be like, they walk in and you don't necessarily greet them like you would when they're coming into a restaurant. You let them take their time and come up to you and ask questions. So you want something comfortable, easily accessible, and just cozy looking, something nice, easy on the eyes, I suppose.
Something pretty close to the curb, basically, is what it sounds like. Popping off the curb, pop back out, and as you're walking along like the beach or something like that.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly right.
Interesting.
A little bit different.
Crazy. So Drew, what's Placencia looking like versus San Pedro versus San Ignacio? Like, I think that's the crazy thing about Belize. I feel like there's so much diversity, even though it's a pretty small country.
Yeah. So San Pedro is probably the most, how do I say, it's the busiest piece of Belize I've been to. Even the city, 40% of the country's population lives in the city.
Wow.
But it's rolling, so there's the suburbs, there's the neighborhoods outside the city, and it all counts as the city. And so in the city, it's not even as busy as San Pedro. So San Pedro is like a hub of, I'd say, there's equal parts tourism and locals. And so the businesses, the way that they cater is kind of unique because it's a hybrid model, and things are probably harder to get there than it is on the mainland. Obviously, it's an island, but it's busier. There's nightlife and there's morning life. So it's more like a city, I'd say, even as far as the traffic flow goes, than like a Belize city. So it's always busy day and night. There's a lot of activities to do. You'd spend a week there and you wouldn't have to go to a beach because you'd be busy going to other things, going to restaurants, going to shopping centers, going to whatever it is that you want to go to. So San Pedro is pretty modern compared to some of the other places here. The city, Belize City, is busy, a lot of foot traffic, but it has its flow. I'd say it's morning to night traffic is not quite as consistent or reliable as like a San Pedro. It gets really quiet sometimes of the day, but it's also spread out really far. It's, you got the city center and then it rolls out. Yeah, you got the industrial business district and then you have like the neighborhood side of it, but it all comes together right in the city. And San Ignacio is probably the most, it's a quiet town. It's not as quiet as Placencia, but it's not as busy as a San Pedro or a Belize City. There's mostly locals in San Ignacio. I'd say a good 90%, like 75 to 90% of the traffic through the coffee shop is going to be locals there. And then they have really high seasons and then off seasons when there's going to be no tourists there. But it's probably the most like a regular little town, like where we're from, Tri-Cities. I would think of it like that. You see the same people at the same times of the day at the same places, which you're not going to get at San Pedro or Belize City. And it's cozy, but there's also, it's surrounded by villages. And so people are traveling in to work from San Ignacio, or people are traveling in to catch the bus from San Ignacio to Belize City all the time. So it's just more spread out. For example, in Placencia, in San Pedro and Belize City, you wouldn't need a car to get around and to be comfortable and convenient. But in San Ignacio, you're going to want a car to get around. So the businesses aren't quite as close together. I can get everything I need within a quarter mile. But if you want to explore it all, or if you want to spread your wings and see places, it's quite a big place.
Interesting. Yeah, I can see how that would totally, like, when you're talking about like 3 or 4 different modes of traffic that you're going to get in 3 or 4 different cities. It's funny, all in just tiny little country.
I had no idea what I was going to get when I got to Placencia. I still don't really know. I've been exploring, but it's hard to really pin it down on what it's like here yet. So I'll spend a couple more days here and really get a feel for it. There's a lot of opportunity. There's lots of things for sale. There's lots of things for rent. There's beachfront properties and businesses, and yeah, I'm learning. It's an interesting place.
What's the tourism looking like in Placencia?
For what I've seen right now, there's not a whole lot of tourists, or they're just in their pockets. So there's actually a big cruise ship that I saw pull up off. There's a Placencia Island that it's parked out right now. So I don't know if a lot of the tourists are going there, but the tourism is mostly right along the beach. So there's a lot of restaurants and bars, a lot of beachfront bars and partying. And on the pier, there's, little shops there. So obviously, as I explore further inland, there's our target market is going to be mainly the people who are living here all the time. Convenient as possible for tourists, but tourism, is gone for some of the year. So they don't want to rely 100% on tourism. But yeah, I would say if you're going to vacation and what you want to do is get a tan and drink on the beach, Placencia is the place for that. San Pedro has a lot more activity as far as, just things to do throughout the day.
Yeah, it sounds like you're living a rough life right now.
Log in for some Zoom calls, do some work in the evening, and then just go enjoy Belize. Is that what's working right now, or what?
I just have a hard time making it to these calls.
Obviously, it'd be great if we could utilize some of the team that De Los Mayas has already started building into for the sake of location number 2 for them. Obviously, starting brand new, starting totally fresh is a little bit intimidating always, but do you have thoughts about that? How have you felt with, I feel like it feels like Cave de los Mayas really landed on their feet with this crop of kids that they hired. What are your thoughts on next batch?
Yeah. So, the way traditionally that we've done it is moving some of the veterans to another store, as you guys know. Don't need to sharing this for the sake of the listeners, I suppose. The veterans to a store and then backfill the original store with newbies so they get their feet wet on a slower business. Because obviously grand opening week's not going to be something they can learn. Yeah. I guess they did it in San Ignacio, but that's not how we do it. And I have a lot of confidence in the kids that we have there now. And we're training a new kid right now, and they're training him this week. I trained him the first week and a half, and then I kind of pass them off the curriculum that I want him to learn. And he's learning well, he's learning fast. And, while they're really good at doing things proper, the way we set them up, they're good at following the directions, and they do take pride in doing it well. They're also free thinkers, and they find good ways to do things that aren't necessarily cutting corners, but make it more efficient. And so I think bringing these kids And I'd love to take the kids to San Pedro or to Placencia and, let them explore a little bit and, give them opportunity to work while they're doing it. And I think they would do fantastic. And I think they do a really good job bringing new people under their wing, because I think they take a lot of pride in working for De Las Mayas. And I think that they'd be, the way that I picture it is expanding their little, work family. So I think that they would take them under their wing and train them well, and respect that when they started, they also didn't know anything. And then we have sometimes a hard time with that in the States with the coffee world, because people who've been doing do coffee for a long time. So getting a newbie, it's like hard to put yourself back in the shoes of, it's hard to remember not knowing any of this stuff, because I've known it for so long. What I've seen, at least in the last few days of them kind of working with the new hire, is that they take into account that it is new. It's all new. It's a new industry, and they're more patient than me, obviously. I think that they're going to do a great job, and I don't think they have any trouble expanding and bringing more people under their wing.
It's cool that it worked out the way that it did. I know that, they hadn't been in a hiring situation up to this point, and then that the hiring situation availed itself just while you happened to be in Belize for those set of weeks. I think that's cool for them to be able to see you onboard somebody, bring them in, like get them first level training, then hand them off. I think that's pretty awesome for next round too. See second gen. Yeah. It's crazy they're already in second gen, where it's not just first gen anymore.
Yeah. And the way we did the hiring was internal, because I would be afraid of the influx of potential applicants and then the potential negative. There's always people who feel left out, and I would hate for anybody to feel left out. So present the opportunity internal first, because obviously the people who are our frequent customers are going to be the best baristas.
That's great. So how did you do it in the last couple of minutes? How did you find this internal person? How did that work?
It was actually, I asked the baristas, hey, do you have any friends that would be good at this? And they said, yeah, sure. And I said, do you have any friends that you'd trust with $1,000? And that really slimmed down the list. So based off of that shorter list, we found a pretty good candidate.
That's great. I love that. That was always the best ways. I felt like you guys seem to always have friends. Everybody's always got friends, right? But then I think when you tie it back to how are these people going to show up? How are they going to represent you? They suck. Like, just remember your name's on the line too. Like, you're the one who's this place,
Your reputation is worth more than $1,000, I hope.
Well, Drew, I hope, man, your suffering is not quite as tedious as it's been the last couple of days, as you spend another couple of days in Placencia. Great seeing you, man. Ben, great seeing you on Coffee Experts Club. We'll see everybody next week.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Thanks so much for joining us today. For those of you who are looking to become a coffee expert yourself, we offer an incredible, thorough training online for opening your first coffee drive-thru at www.myfirstdrivethru.coffee.